Hi creatives, I am Dima and you're welcome to another interesting sewing tutorial. This is actually a pattern drafting tutorial of how to draft a stylish monostrap bustier blouse. If this sounds like what you've been interested in, then you have to stick around till the end. If you've not subscribed to my channel, do that because here on the channel I share lots of very interesting and easy to understand videos that will really help your sewing journey. Let's get right into the video. So on today's tutorial, I'll be sharing with you the monostrap bustier blouse that I just showed at the beginning of this video, and I started by drawing a line at the beginning of that paper. So the next thing is to go ahead and mark your shoulder measurement divided by 2. You rule a vertical line. So after that, you go ahead and mark your basic neckline. It's usually 3 by 3 or 3.5 by 3.5 at most, depending on how big your client is or how slim your client is. So right here, you drop by 1 and connect this to the neckline. Okay, just ignore my measurements because this is a miniature form. Here you go in by 3/4 inch after dropping by 5 inches. So here is the bust measurement divided by 4. You go ahead and mark here. So go ahead and mark at 2 points and then draw a vertical line just as you can see me do. So after that, we'll go ahead and draw the armhole. So you connect the shoulder tip to the across chest, and then where the armhole measurement touches the bust line by the side, okay? Armhole measurement divided by 2. So I'll put in the description how you can draft your basic pattern so that you know how to measure all of this. So what I just measured now is the half length, the front half length, and I just had to rule a line there. So you go ahead and measure your own front half length and rule a horizontal line there. So what I'm measuring here is the top length, and I had to rule a line across as well. So after doing that, I will continue with the rest of the pattern. So watch closely to see what I'm doing and note that this paper is on fold. Yes, so you mark your hip measurement and then you'll be connecting this to the waistline. Hip measurement plus a little extra, just like 3/4 inch extra. Okay, so you come here and mark your waist measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch dart intake. Waist measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch dart intake. If there's any modification on the dart, of course it will be added finally. Like when you are tightening the underbust, it may increase the bust size, but this would definitely be added to that waistline measurement. Okay, so you can see that I've connected the waist to the hip, and yes, this is what I have. I had to go up on that center front. You can go up about 4 inches or 4.5 inches to get this curve that we have here. Okay, so I had to go in from fold by about 2.5 inches, depending on how wide you want the triangle that is at the center of this blouse hemline. So you can see it on the pinned post to understand exactly what I'm doing. All I want to achieve is the hemline of the blouse that we are drafting. So after doing that, I will go ahead and mark the bust point, that is the bust level. Okay, and then you mark the bust to bust from one bust point to the other, then you divide by 2. That is what I'm marking now because the paper is on fold. I marked 1/2 inch dart on both sides of these measurements on the waistline, and this is what forms the dart I am drawing now. I hope you understand, but if you have any question, drop it in the comment section and I'll be there to answer all of your questions. Now this is the on the bust point. Okay, you can measure from the bust point or from the shoulder, and I'm taking the under bust tightening towards the center front is 1/4 and towards the side front is 3/4. That is what I took, and I connected like this to the dart leg. I'm just completing the dart leg. I marked 6 inches and ensure it is at the bust to bust measurements. Okay, and then you complete your dart. That is all I did here. And the next is to go ahead and connect this bust on the bust tightening to the bust point, just as you can see me do with my curved rule. Do the same for this side, and yes, this completes our on the bust tightening. Just extend this to the hemline just to get a straight line that runs to the hemline. So that is it. The next thing I will do is to just draw this opening, sort of keyhole opening on the shoulder towards the chest. Okay, so that is what I'm just carving here. It's just like a drawing, and I'm trying to, get exactly the shape that I want. So when I drew this, I was comfortable with it, and I had to mark the mid shoulder there and then use it as a guide to draw this bustier line that will end at the opening I just drew now. Yes, I didn't get it to the shoulder line, but because we have no need, taking it there. So this is what I have. There won't be tightening here. If you like, you can make it an armhole dart, and of course take your dart for the armhole princess that. So this is side bust that I'm drawing now, which is the difference between the front half length and the back half length. I'm laying emphasis on it so that you use your exact measurements to do this, because the measurements I'm using here is the measurements of a miniature form. So the side bust that is the difference between the front half length and the back half length. There is no over bust tightening for this side that has, this shape on the chest line, because we have no need tightening the over bust for this side. But for the other side of the blouse, which you're going to see, because I'm going to cut out and open up this, you will see where we'll be needing the contouring. Yes, of course we will need the not just the over bust tightening, we are going to contour that part because it does not have any sleeve or any shoulder strap. I hope you understand. So when you cut it out, you open up, and this is what it looks like. You can see that the shape looks exactly like what we have in the pin picture. And after that, I am going to go ahead and draw this the way I want it, and you can see how I'm connecting it to the armhole by the other side, right? So I'll go ahead and use my tracing wheel to trace out the dots, so that the dots I have on both sides of the pattern will be exactly the same before I draw out the neckline, and of course take the over bust tightening and contouring for the opposite second side of this top. I hope you understand. So what I'm doing here is just to trace out the dart and of course the under bust tightening. So I'm also tracing the side bust dart. So after that, I'll go ahead and use my marker pen and draw out, make all of this tracing visible. So that is what I did here. I'm just taking my time to trace out everything, to draw out everything that was traced. So this will give us exactly what we have on the other side of the pattern. So right here, this is what it looks like, and I'll go ahead and draw the side bust dart, yes, because I can see all of that. That is the benefit of the tracing wheel, right? So after that, I would just go ahead and take the over bust. So you have to go up by once from bust point to where this line is crossing along that bust part is up to 3 1/4, 3 1/2. You can be rest assured that the bust, it will not reveal the bust. Okay, so that should be your standard. You measure from the bust point upwards at least 3 1/2. That way the bust will not show. Okay, so you can use it as a guide to draw the neckline. This is a monostrap bustier blouse. So after drawing, this is what I got, and I had to take the over bust tightening like this. So you have to take 3/4 inch or 1 inch on both sides of this line. So that is what I did, like 2 inches tightening on this other side. But the other side, we don't have business tightening it. No, we won't tighten that side. There is no need tightening that side. So after all of this, you're going to cut out your pattern and of course cut it on paper and go ahead and stitch it. So this is what I have. I'll be dividing this into pieces when we get to that, but in the meantime I'll go ahead to draft the back pattern. All right, so to draft the back pattern, you will of course rule a line just as we did at the beginning for the front pattern, and then we start off the measurement. So this is the shoulder measurement divided by 2. That is what I did here, and then you mark your vertical line just as you can see me do. Okay, so here I am cutting out the upper part of the paper so that it won't be a distraction. So here is the neckline. So what I took is just the basic front neckline of 3 by 3. Okay, ignore my measurements because this is a miniature form. 3 by 3, or at most 3.5 by 3.5 for a bigger person. So I dropped the shoulder line by 1 inch, that is the shoulder slope, and I had to come down by 5 inches, and of course go in there by ½ inch so that I can draw the armhole. So what I'm doing here is bust measurement divided by 4. You go ahead and mark at least 2 points and then draw your vertical line. So that is what we do here, and then we have to go ahead and I had to go ahead and draw the armhole measurement divided by 2. And I said earlier that I'll put in a link in the description so that in case you need to view the basic pattern making of a half scale or full scale block, you will see it right there and understand anything you might be confused of, which I doubt in this video, right? So what I now measured is the back half length. Okay, this is what you would take here. Anything that is the value for your back half length, which is from the shoulder at neck to the waistline, that is what you measure there. So here is the waistline, okay, plus that intake, right? So you first of all take your back tightening, which is here. I moved in by ½ inch. Then from there you measure your waistline plus that intake. So what I'll do here is just to get my front pattern and measure from the waistline to the hem, the longest part. Okay, the longest part, that is what I measured because that is what I might be using that if you want. But what I used for the back is the one at the side because that is the length I want the blouse to be. I want the blouse to be shorter at the back according to this draft. But if you want to take the longer part, no problem. You of course curve it to the shorter part so that it will be the same with the side front as well. I hope you understand. So but this is the length I want for the back. So I'll go ahead and mark the hip measurement here. Hip depth, then the hip divided by 4 is what I'm marking now. So this will be a guideline. I am not going to rule the line to the hip. No, you just take it from the hem of the blouse to the waist. So the hip measurement is just a guideline. So what I completed here is the back tightening, and yeah, this is what we have for the back. So you go ahead and cut it out, and then we continue with the pattern making because we are not done yet, but we are almost done. So when you cut it out like this, you can see what it looks like because it is on fold. So here I'm marking the middle. Yes, the middle from the back tightening to the side. I now had to take my dart of 1 inch, and then that is what I'm drawing. What I'm simply doing here is drawing the dart. So watch closely and you understand what I'm doing. I ensured that this is in line with the middle of the dart, and then I connected the dart, and then this other side of the dart. Yeah, the dart size is 1 inch, so you connect to this one and this one. So at the base of this dart, at that hem, I took ½ inch, yes, because the dart did not get as long as it is supposed to be. That is why. So after doing this, yes, here I made sure the dart did not like get to the apex. I ensured it has like ½ inch at the hem of this blouse. Yes, because the dart is not the length it is supposed to be. If it gets to the length, it's supposed to close up, but because it did not get to the length, I had to mark ½ inch there to take care of whatever it is. Or if you want, you can complete the dart and of course cut out. Okay, that means you make the top to be as long as it is supposed to be, then take the correct length of the lower dart, then you cut out your pattern. Okay, so after this, you're going to place your pattern like this, right sides facing each other, because we will be tracing this neckline, wrong sides facing each other rather, and then you use the front neckline to cut out the back neckline. Can you see that? So you go ahead and draw this like this, and then yeah, this is what we have for the back. So you also draw your dart for the second side of that back, and of course we'll be tightening the back, but not as much as the front. Yes, so here we are going to tighten it. Yes, I'm going to extend this dart because that place is open. A contour guideline has been crossed. Okay, a contour guideline has been crossed, so I have to take ½ inch here and then extend the dart to that point. I said quarter inch. Quarter is the guideline of that place, or at most 3/8. So that is what I took on that upper, and I extended my dart to that place. This will make this neckline to sit really nicely and not gape for any reason. You are going to be very comfortable on this cloth, ensuring that no contour guideline is missed. I hope you understand. So if you want, you can extend the dart on that part that has your shoulder. You can extend it. That means a line will be running there. But if you want, you just cut out your pattern like this and take your dart appropriately. But if you know you will miss your guideline, then go ahead and cut it out, and it will be in pieces, but I'm not sure you will. Just follow this method and make sure you stitch your dart exactly the way it is. If possible, mark it out so that you don't make any mistakes. So right here, I am cutting out the front pattern, trimming off all of the over bust and the under bust tightening. Here I had to cut out this keyhole like opening and then cut out the remaining part of the pattern. Yeah, you can see that the darts on the bust tightening is out, and of course the over bust tightening for the side that has it with the contouring is also out. So go ahead and close the side bust dart just as you can see me do, and also do the same for the opposite side. So that is what I did, and you can see the outcome of this. We are almost getting done with this. So you will be checking in the description box to see the steps for sewing this very blouse. So you can see the patterns. We have the front pattern and this is the back pattern. Just go ahead and cut with 1/2 inch seam allowance for all of the sides except the side of the top. Yes, I'm just marking the under bust, the bust points and all of that, so that by the time you are to put your wording, you will know where you'll be putting it if you're using wording or any other type of interfacing you'll be using for. So here will be 1 inch, okay, while every other side will be 1/2 inch seam allowance. So here will be 1/2 inch as well, and in fact every other place is 1/2 inch except the side that you'll be using 1 inch or at most 1.5 inches. So this is what I have for the front, and for the back is the same thing. You would just go ahead and use 1/2 inch and cut all of the sides, except the side of the blouse where you will use 1 inch. If you want, you cut this through and cut off the darts, but this will be in pieces, which does not matter, is still fine. But if you don't want, you can cut it in full and take your dart. So this is me just drawing a line. Just in case you want to cut it open, you just follow the line and cut it open, just as you can see me do. You can cut it open and make the back to be in pieces. Is equally very fine and okay. So you can see what I'm doing right here. So all you have to do is to go ahead and take your seam allowances of 1/2 inch all through, except for the sides where you will be taking 1 inch. Please check the description box for detailed explanation of how you can put this together. Here's the sewing part. I will be explaining it in the description box. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, give it a thumbs up, comment, let me know what you think, and of course I will see you in my next one. Love you all. Bye.